Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the specimen paper that the Cambridge has released for the 2023 series. You guys have been badgering me about it, so I thought I'll do this before going to the 2021 series first. So let's do this. Okay, choose from the list of oxides to answer the questions. Which oxide has a giant covalent structure? Silicon dioxide has a giant covalent structure. Silicon 4 oxide. So do not write formula here. Write what they have written in the list. Silicon 4 oxide. Dash react with acids and alkalis. Now amphoteric oxides react with acids and alkalis. Right. So which amphoteric oxide is in the list? It is zinc oxide. Zinc oxide. Dash is used in flue gas desulfurization. Calcium carbonate is used in flue gas desulfurization, but there's no calcium carbonate in the list. But from calcium carbonate, actually calcium oxide is released, which is actually used to remove sulfur from the flue gases. So you will write calcium oxide here. Contains a cation with the charge of +1. So just look which element belongs to group 1. Sodium belongs to group 1. So you will write sodium oxide. Okay, so you have to complete the table. Neutron has 0 charge, electron has -1 charge, protons have the mass equal to 1, and electron has mass equal to 1/1840. Do not write 0 here, you'll have to write the approximate values. Did you see nuclear number for the particle A? Nuclear number is atomic mass, which is protons plus neutrons. So particle A has 37 protons and 48 neutrons, and add them together and you will get 85. Explain why B is a negative ion. Anything if it's a negative ion, it means because it has more electrons than protons. So you will write B has more electrons than protons. If they ask you why does B have a, for example, why does B have a +2 charge or a -2 charge, then you'll have to write the exact number of electrons that it has more or less. So B has more electrons than protons. Identify two atoms that are isotopes of the same element. So they'll have the same proton number. C, D, and E have the same proton number, but which of them has different mass, different neutron numbers? C and D have the same neutrons. So C and E has different neutrons. So C and E. Some people would say, why didn't you choose D and E? Because they have same protons but different neutrons, but their electrons are also different. So you'll have to make sure that you will choose the combination of atoms which have same neutrons but different neutrons. You'll have to explain your answer. So you will write that C and E have same protons and different neutrons. Salts can be prepared by the reaction of acids with bases and alkalis, and also by precipitation reactions. State the ionic equation for the reaction between an acid and an alkali. Acid and alkali react together in a reaction called neutralization. And for neutralization reaction, we only have one ionic equation, which is hydrogen ion plus hydroxide ions forms water. Okay. Now, sodium sulfate is a soluble salt prepared by titration using an acid and an alkali. So you are supposed to prepare sodium sulfate. Identify the acid and the alkali used. So sulfate will come from sulfuric acid. So we'll write the name, not the formula, because unless he asks you to write the formula, only then write the formula. And sodium will come from its alkali, which is sodium hydroxide. And they say alkali, it means that you have to take a metal hydroxide. Okay. The next part is state the color of. Okay. So barium sulfate, aqueous sodium sulfate is used to prepare barium sulfate in a precipitation reaction. इसकी ionic equation लिखी हुई है. In an experiment, okay, you are given the volume and the concentration of barium nitrate. It's an added to an excess of sodium sulfate. State the color of the precipitate formed in the reaction. तो barium sulfate and white precipitate होते हैं obviously. It's not. It doesn't have any transition elements, so colored तो होंगे नहीं. Calculate the mass of barium sulfate. So you are given barium nitrate की values आपको दी हुई हैं. So calculate the moles of barium nitrate. Barium nitrate. That would be 20 divided by 1000 multiplied by 0.550. तो इसका आंसर आता है 0.01111. तो जो मोल्स बेरियम नाइट्रेट के हैं वही मोल्स बेरियम सल्फेट के होंगे. जिन इक्वेशन में स्पेसिफाई नहीं किया हुआ था, इट इज सेफ टू अज्यूम कि उसके वही मोल्स होंगे. तो मोल्स ऑफ बेरियम सल्फेट के निकालना था ना अपने मास. सो मोल्स ऑफ बेरियम सल्फेट would also be 0.011. Now you'll have to calculate the mass, which would be moles into mr. 0.011 into mr. Mr is given, which means that he will not give you the mark to calculate mr. That's why it's just a 2-mark question, because you just need to write the value of the moles and the value of the mass. So multiply this by 233 and the answer would be 70. No, its answer would be 2.56 grams. Remember, this is just an ionic equation. They have cancelled the other values. Sodium sulfate was in the reaction. It is used to prepare barium sulfate. Let's say sodium sulfate से barium sulfate कैसे बनाया होगा? If you're making an insoluble salt like barium sulfate, you have to take 2 soluble things. So you have to introduce something of barium. Let's say I introduced barium nitrate, and it formed barium sulfate and sodium nitrate. You'll have to balance them. Yeah, they are balanced. Yeah. So sodium ion will cancel, sulfate ion would not cancel, barium ion would not cancel because this is a solid. This will not split into ions. Nitrate ions will cancel. Eventually, you will be left with barium ion, sulfate ion, and barium sulfate ion. That's what they have written here. So whatever the moles of barium sulfate, same will be the moles of barium nitrate. Okay, so the last part of this question is a mass of 1.92 gram of barium sulfate is obtained. Calculate the percentage yield. Whenever there is a percentage yield and you are given the mass of the product, it means that actually is the actual yield of the actual yield that you're going to use. And the mass that we previously calculated, which was 2.56, that was the theoretical yield. Now, how will you calculate the percentage yield? Actual over theoretical. 1.92 divided by 2.56 multiplied by 100, and you'll get 74.9%. Okay, any mass, if you calculate the mass of a product in a reaction, that mass is actually its theoretical yield. Always know that whenever they ask you to calculate the percentage yield of a compound, they will always give you a mass of that compound, and that mass will actually be the actual yield, because actual yield is something that you have calculated, that you have found experimentally. Since we are doing a theoretical paper, you cannot calculate an experimental value, so they will always give you that. Okay. So did you see electronic configuration for each of the ions in calcium chloride? Calcium is Ca+2 and 40-20. So originally there were 20 electrons, now it's a +2 charge, so 18 electrons, 2, 8, 8. And chloride ion is Cl-1, 35.517. Originally it had 17 electrons, now it will have 18, 2, 8 and 8. So molten calcium chloride is electrolyzed, so 2 ions will be there, calcium ion and chloride ion. Construct half equations for the 2 electrode reactions. So negative electrode पे positive ions आएंगे, and positive ions have 2 less electrons. They are 2 electron deficient. They are going to gain electrons, and gain of electron always happen on the left side of the equation. And chloride ion has one extra electron, so it will lose the electron and form a chlorine atom. But we know that chlorine exists as a diatomic gas, so Cl2. So it will need 2 chloride ions. It will release 2 electrons. The electrons have to be written on the right because electrons are being lost here. So at negative electrode, reduction is happening, and at the positive electrode, oxidation is happening. Okay, now they are saying that electrolysis of calcium chloride with inert electrode is similar to that of aqueous sodium chloride. Predict the products of the electrolysis of aqueous calcium chloride, which means that there will be extra ions, hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion, along with calcium ion and chloride ion. So for cathode, so you have to predict the products of the electrolysis. So at cathode, you will have two candidates, hydrogen and calcium ion. So whichever is lower in the reactivity series will go to the cathode. So hydrogen is lower in the reactivity series, so hydrogen gas will be formed at the on the cathode. And you have to write the other product as well. Between chlorine, chloride ion and hydroxide ion, whenever there is a competition between hydroxide ion and chloride or halogen, halogen is always released. Whenever there is a competition between hydroxide and halogen, halogen is always released to the anode. So chlorine will be formed at the anode. Explain why calcium chloride has a high melting point. Use ideas about structure and bonding. So why does calcium chloride has a high melting point? A structure has an ionic lattice. It's a ionic compound. So calcium chloride has a giant ionic lattice. Has a giant ionic lattice, and as far as bonding is concerned, and have strong electrostatic forces of attraction, and have strong electrostatic forces of attraction which are difficult to overcome, which are difficult to overcome. There you go. Okay, so describe the manufacture of ethanol from ethene. So steam is passed through ethene. You have to describe it. So steam is passed through ethene. Mention the temperature here that at 300 degrees Celsius and in the presence of phosphoric acid catalyst H3PO4 catalyst to form ethanol. So 2 mark question, you can just simply stop here now. If it's 3 marks, you can also say that how is ethanol prepared? Aqueous ethanol से ethanol निकालना हो तो you have to distill it as well. That ethanol is separated by distillation. Ethanol is used as a fuel state. One other use of ethanol, it is used as a solvent. It is also used in French polishes. It is also used as an alcoholic beverage. Construct a simple equation for the incomplete combustion of ethanol. So you have C2H5OH that is reacting with oxygen. To show incomplete combustion, carbon monoxide will be formed along with water. Now we'll have to balance this. There are 2 carbons on the left, 2 carbons on the right. And now 5 and 6 hydrogens on the left, 6 hydrogens on the right. Now 2 and 3, 5 oxygens on the right, and on the left there is 1. और इसको 4 करना है, so multiply this by 2 and 5 oxygens on the left. Ethanol is oxidized to form ethanoic acid. State the name of a reagent that is used for oxidation. You can write the name of the oxidizing agent, potassium manganate. Draw a displayed formula of a different alcohol that is an isomer of butane 1-ol. They have drawn you the diagram of butane 1-ol. So you want to draw this isomer, you can simply shift the OH groups. It's on this carbon, shift it either on this carbon or this carbon. Okay, so just shift carbon, the OH group on this carbon or this carbon. You cannot shift it here because it will produce the same compound. It will still be butane 1-ol. Okay, so let's draw the displayed formula for this. Now you can shift it to the second carbon like this, O and H. Now remaining hydrogens will remain intact the same way. Oh. Right. So you guys will put the hydrogens yourselves. यहाँ पे सब में हाइड्रोजन लगा देना, रिमेनिंग जो भी है वहाँ पे भी हाइड्रोजन आ जाएंगे. Okay, so butane 1-ol is heated with sulfuric acid, which acts as a catalyst. Butene and one other compound are formed. Draw the structural formula of but1-ene. Structural formula of but1-ene, which is C double bond C, C and C. It's not asking you to draw the structure, it's asking you to draw the structural formula, which means CH2 double bond CH2 CH and then CH2 and CH3. This will be but1-ene. Did you see other compound formed in the reaction? So basically butanol is converted into butene, right? What we have done is we have done alkene to alcohol, like butene to butanol. We know that we add steam to it. Now if you want to convert, you want to reverse it, you want to convert alcohol to alkene, obviously you have to release water. So what other compound will be formed? Water will be formed. Okay. Now but2-ene is polymerized to give polybutene. State the polymerization that occurs here. Polymerization is addition polymerization. Okay, and draw the structure of polybutene-2-ene showing at least one repeat unit. So you have double bond here, right? This bond will break. I've broken this bond. Put these two carbons in focus. And on the right and on the left there will be extension bonds. And whatever there is on the right of this carbon will become the branch, which is CH3. And whatever is here on the left of this carbon will also become the branch CH3, hydrogen, and since it's a polymer, you'll have to write bracket and an N. Okay, so there's a major reaction in which ethanoic acid and ethene and oxygen is being reacted. The reaction is exothermic. You have to label the axes. Axis is on the y-axis, there is energy. On the x-axis, it's reaction progress. Reaction progress. Right. So the reactants and products. It's exothermic. Reactants have more energy than the products. So reactants will be at a higher energy level and products will be at a lower energy level. Now you'll have to label the enthalpy change and the activation energy. Activation energy is the energy from reactants to the highest point. This will be, you label this as EA, and the enthalpy would be negative as the energy is going down as you're moving through the reaction. So delta H is negative. Okay. Now explain why enthalpy change of the reaction is exothermic. Because energy released, you have to write 2 points here, that energy released is greater than energy absorbed, and you have to link the energy released with bond making and energy absorbed with bond breaking. So you can just merge these two different concepts into a single sentence. Just memorize this. It's energy released during bond formation. Energy released during bond formation is greater than energy absorbed is greater than energy absorbed during bond breaking. Okay, so peroxide disulfide ions react with iodide ions in an aqueous solution. Iodide ions are oxidized in this reaction. State how the equation shows this. Iodide ions are getting converted into losing electrons. So you will write that iodide ions are losing electrons. That's why they are getting oxidized. Iodide ions are losing electrons. Okay, the B part is use information in the table. Describe how increasing the concentration of these ions affect the rate of reaction. So if you look at the concentrations here, now you have to check the peroxide disulfide ions concentration. When I double this, if I look at experiment 1 and 2, when I double the concentration, while the concentration of iodine remained the same, the rate of reaction also doubled. So you will write exactly that as concentration is doubled, as concentration is doubled, rate of reaction doubles. Rate of reaction also doubles. Okay, next we have to check the impact of concentration of iodide ions on the rate. So now here, if I look at experiment 3 and 4, iodide ions are changing their concentration, but here peroxodisulfide ions are also changing their concentration. So you cannot use these two experiments because you won't know which impact is because of iodide ions, which impact is because of peroxodisulfide ions. Whenever you are monitoring the impact of one variable, then you'll have to make sure that all the other variables are constant. So, uh, if I have to check the impact of iodide ions now, you cannot take experiment 3 and 4 because even though iodide ions concentration is changing, but the thiosulfate ions concentration is also changing. So, you would not know how much that the concentration of iodide ions have actually affected the rate of reaction. So, I'll instead choose 4 and 5. Even concentration of iodide ion was doubled, while concentration of thiosulfate ion remained the same. Peroxodisulfate, sorry, thiosulfate, keh raha hu. So rate of reaction doubles. So you will write again the same thing. The concentration is doubled, as concentration is doubled, rate of reaction rate also doubles. Okay, so what's the next part? Explain how catalysts increase the rate of reaction. The 2 mark question. You will say that catalysts lower the activation energy. That's for 1 mark. Catalyst lowers the activation energy. By providing an alternate pathway. This is for the 2nd mark. By providing an alternate pathway. Okay. Copper reacts with nitric acid to form copper nitrate. State the meaning of AQ. AQ means aqueous or dissolved in water. The second part states that you have excess of copper that is added in this much nitric acid, so you can calculate the moles of nitric acid here. And you need to calculate the volume of NO2. Fair enough. Calculate the moles of nitric acid first. So moles of HNO3 would be 25 divided by 1000, and the concentration is 16 mole per dm cube. 16 moles per dm cube. So let's solve this. 25 divided by 1000 multiplied by 16. So this would be 0.4 moles. Okay, now you need to calculate the volume of nitrogen dioxide. For that, you need moles of nitrogen dioxide. So moles of nitric acid is 4. So उस टाइम पे नाइट्रोजन डाइऑक्साइड के मोल्स 2 हैं. अगर मैं रेशियो लगा लें यहाँ पे, so HNO3 and NO2. There are 4 moles of nitric acid. There are 2 moles of nitrogen dioxide. So if there are 0.4 moles of nitric acid, how many will be the moles of nitrogen dioxide? So 4x will be equal to 0.8. 4x will be equal to 0.8, and yeah, so the answer would be 0.8 divided by 4, 0.2. So x will be equal to 0.2. 0.2 is the moles of nitrogen dioxide. You need to calculate the volume of nitrogen dioxide. So the formula is moles is equal to volume over 24. So volume will be equal to n multiplied by 24, which means 0.2 multiplied by 24. So answer would be 4.8 dm cube. Okay. So copper nitrate decomposes to form copper oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and oxygen. This is a very basic question in which they simply expect you to be able to write a chemical equation from a word statement. So copper nitrate is heated. The difficult formula, all the formulas they actually wrote. And what is being formed? Copper oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and oxygen. Before, they had expected you that when a metal nitrate decomposes, what will be the possible products. Now they don't expect you to know that anymore because the table is excluded now. So there are two nitrogens on the left. Huh? There is only one nitrogen on the right. So let's make it two nitrogens. How many oxygen have they become? Let's redo the 6. And on the right is 1, 4, 5 and 2, 7. So 7 को 6 करना है, इसको half कर दे. Okay. To a small sample of copper nitrate, student adds aqueous ammonia drop by drop until it is in excess. So what is observed? सबसे पहले blue precipitate will be formed when you add 5 drops of ammonia. Blue precipitate appear and they dissolve in excess. And they dissolve in excess to form a dark blue solution. To form a dark blue solution. If this was sodium hydroxide, they would have been insoluble in excess. So the last part of this question states the student repeats the experiment but adds sodium hydroxide instead of aqueous ammonia. Like I said, that again blue precipitate will be formed. Blue PPT will be formed which are insoluble in excess. Which are insoluble in excess sodium hydroxide. I just told you that. Okay, so iodine reacts with chlorine to form iodine chloride. Iodine chloride reacts in a similar way to bromine. Okay. Iodine chloride reacts with ethene in an addition reaction. So ethene is a draw a displayed formula of the product of this reaction. Okay. So ethene is C2H4, right? So you have added ICl to it. So obviously C2H4 and double bond will break and ICl will be added. So C2H4, double bond that used to be here will be broken and the bonds will be opened. And on one side you will put I and on the other side you will put Cl, while hydrogens will remain the same. Now iodine chloride reacts in a similar way to chlorine. Okay. And iodine chloride reacts with ethane in a photochemical reaction in the presence of UV light. So it's a substitution reaction. Now what used to happen? ICl reacts in a similar way to chlorine. So ethane is going to be reacted with. Normally क्या होता था? Ethane reacts with, for example, chlorine. So what used to happen? Hydrogen was replaced by chlorine and HCl was formed. So he's asking you firstly state the type of reaction, that is substitution, and then he's asking you to write a simple equation for the reaction between iodine chloride and ethane. So now instead of Cl2 we have ICl. So what's going to happen is hydrogen obviously is going to be substituted. Now it's your call whether you can substitute with I. If you substitute with I, so this Cl will react with this substituted hydrogen to form HCl, or you can also do you can also substitute Cl and then this I will react with this hydrogen to form HI. It's your call. You can write either of them. C2H6. Either write this one or this one. Here. Right? Now you need to draw the dot and cross diagram of iodine chloride. It's pretty much like the same as chlorine because they both belong to group 7. So both of them are going to share 1 electron each. So 1 electron each. And remaining 6 electrons are going to remain unbonded for both iodine and chlorine. Okay, so this reversible reaction which ICl is reacting with Cl chlorine to form ICl3, iodine 3 chloride. In your answer, describe two features of a reversible reaction. Refer to the rate of reaction and concentration. So basically he's asking you to write two definitions of dynamic equilibrium. One is that rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction. And the second one is in terms of concentration. So you can write concentration of reactants and products do not change with time. Do not change with time. Okay. Now the pressure is increased. So what will happen to the color of the equilibrium mixture? We know that ICl is a dark brown gas, ICl is brown, and ICl3 is yellow. So you have increased pressure. What would happen? So when you increase pressure, the equilibrium moves to the side with less gas moles. Right? So there are one gas mole on the right, there is one gas mole on the right, and there is 1 plus 1, 2 gas moles on the left. So equilibrium will move to the right. So what will happen to the color? When it moves to the right, the color will become less brown or more yellow. Color would get less brown or lighter brown or more yellow. And as far as explanation is concerned, you will write that equilibrium moves to the right. Equilibrium moves to the right as there are more gas moles on the right hand side. As there are more gas moles on the right. Sorry, उल्टा बोल दिया. As there are less gas moles on the right. उस तरफ मूव करेगा ना प्रेशर इंक्रीज करने से जहाँ पे कम मोल्स हैं गैस. Okay, air contains a mixture of gases including noble gases. State what is meant by the term monoatomic. So you can write elements with only one atom. Elements containing only one atom. And why noble gases are non-reactive? Because they have complete outermost shell. So noble gases have complete valence shell. State why fractional distillation can be used to separate a liquid mixture of neon, argon, krypton, and xenon. Only then distillation is used when between the components of a mixture there is a difference in boiling point. So you will write that mixture components. The components in the mixture components have different boiling points. State which noble gas will have the fastest rate of diffusion. The one which has the lowest atomic mass. So neon has the lowest atomic mass. It has the lowest explanation लिखनी है. So it has the lowest atomic mass. So that's all from this paper. Inshallah, in my next video, I'm going to solve the paper 4 of the specimen papers. Okay. Until then, see you.